I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how to create a pivot chart using sales transaction data. I'm going to go ahead and first create a pivot table, and that's found under Insert. Then I'll go to Pivot Table. I want to make sure that the table selection is correct, and it is. I do want my pivot table to be inside a new worksheet, so I'm going to leave that as is. Press OK. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put region in rows. I'll put product in columns, and I want to put the amount in value. So I'll get the revenue um, per product, and I can assess that on how each region did. I'm going to select, I'm going to go ahead and format the values, the numerical values here. These relate to currency. So I'll right click, go to value field settings, and I want to show a currency. So I went to normal format, currency, press OK, and then I'll press OK. Okay, so I have a simple pivot table, and I can add on to this if later on. Uh, Now I'm going to select. I'm still on the Analyze tab. I'm going to select Pivot Chart under Tools, and based off of the pivot table that I have here, uh, a good visual to have would be a this clustered column bar chart where I'm able to compare the two products in terms of their revenue, and I can also do a comparison by region. So I'm just going to go ahead and press OK. And this is how the defaulted bar chart looks. I can modify this, add access labels and a chart title and all of that. And I can just continue to add other visuals that's tied into this pivot table. And this is how the dashboard is created. And anytime we add additional data, the pivot table is going to update itself as well as our visuals that we have here. So everything is tied in to the data, the data that we're working with here. So I'm going to go ahead and create another visual. So I'm just going to put my active cell somewhere in the pivot table. I'll go to Analyze, Pivot Table, or Pivot Chart, and I'm going to select a pie chart. And this is the defaulted output that is going to display on my spreadsheet. I'll press OK. Now, just be careful. Just because the title says book doesn't mean that this is the correct title or that it's only looking at the product book. So we can see what happens here. Let's just say just DVD, right? So they both change to DVD, but the default name when both items are selected, so we're not filtering. Notice how the bar chart, the title disappears, but with the pie chart, we have books. So these are just some things that you want to be careful with when it comes out to filtering your data. Um, Now, the pie chart, obviously, all we see are slices, and we probably want to get some numerical information, at least a relative proportion for these slices. I can select if I go to format, or better yet, I'll just double click on this white area, and I have the Analyze tab, but I want to go to the Design tab, and I'll select this chart where it will show me the proportions. And so this is what I want, and I could include an additional visual if I wanted to, right? So this is how dashboards are created. They're all tied. All these visuals are tied into a table. Let's say, for example, I want some data bars here as part of the grand total. So I'm selecting the series here, and they are the grand total that relates to all products for each region. I'm going to go to conditional formatting, go ahead and select the green color data bar. And now I have a visual along with a numerical value in this cell. And anytime I make a change within my pivot table or within my pivot chart in regards to filtering, this is also going to change as well. So let me just unselect everything and just choose DVD here. Press OK. And notice that these bars also changed once I filter them. Go ahead and select both of them. Now, it's okay. So on. Let me check just book. Yeah. Let's say I want to add some additional information on my pivot table. Show fields list. And let's say I want to filter by payment. I have the payment filter on both of my pivot charts that I created, as well as on my pivot table. So I could do subsetting here, right? And notice how things are changing as I filter. If I want to say, for example, I'm going to also include source. Let's see here. Let me see how the source data looks like. Okay, so let me go ahead and include source as part of the pivot table. I'll select that and I'll put it here. Don't like how that information is being shown. All right, there you go. So here I have, I'm just going to exit off of this pane really quick so you can see what happened when I included another variable in my pivot table. So notice that the pivot chart, the bar chart in particular, added some categories here. And for my pie chart, it included additional slices where where it's combining the source as well as the region. So instead of having four regions, we now have two additional categories for each region. So East email, East web, North email, North web, East email, East web, etc. So um, I want to expand this a little bit because I know that there are more slices in this. So this was cut off a little bit. And this represents the color codes for all the slices that I have here. Um, so that's one of those things that you want to be aware of. Just make sure that the way that this pie chart is presenting itself, that it's accurate. You can't just rely on the technology and the way that the default output is and think that this is correct. So just be careful when it comes down to that. Another one of those examples is this title that I mentioned earlier, right? So that's pretty much how you would work with creating pivot charts and other types of visuals within a table. And this is a good way to create your dashboards as well.